A good rule of thumb is to assess that investment after 10 years. And the reason for that is typically in a 10-year period, you now have paid down, I should say you haven't, your borrowers, or excuse me, your tenants have now paid down that loan quite a bit for you, right? And there's been 10 years of appreciation and equity. There might have been some depreciation along that 10 years, but in typically 10 years, you're going to be positive versus 10 years ago when you bought it. Even if we go in a downturn, and then it always goes back up. In 10 years, it's a good time to reanalyze that property because you now have the loan paid down a bunch, you have equity in it, and also 10 years, believe it or not, is about the time where deferred maintenance might start to become something that you will need to address. So after 10 years, you might need to start investing a little bit more money in, let's say, rain gutters or the siding or different things that are now breaking down. Maybe the furnace was great when you bought it, but it was 20 years old when you bought it, and now it's 30 years old because you've waited 10 years, and now you maybe possibly need to get a new furnace. See, so you're going to want to assess the property 10 years after you purchase it and see if it's going to cost you more money in deferred maintenance, and if it is, then that might be a good opportunity to go ahead and roll up. You're going to sell it, but you're not going to sell it because you want to go on a fabulous trip to Maui. You're going to sell it to roll up to a better investment. See, because now you've paid down the loan and you've got all this appreciation, you've got a large chunk of equity in the home that you can put a big down payment into something bigger and better. So maybe this is a single family house that we're talking about. Well, you want to roll up so you can utilize the 1031 exchange strategy. If you don't know what that is, Google it, but basically it helps you defer your taxes, not pay taxes on that income that you have when you sell an investment property. So that is a fabulous way to keep the money versus give the money to, basically give the money to the government in tax paying, is you can utilize the 1031 exchange with this large chunk of equity, sell this single family house, and then you have a time limit. I believe it's 60 days that don't quote me on it, I believe it's 60 days that you have to, maybe it's 45. You have a time period when you have to pinpoint a property. You have to identify a property. And then I believe you have 90 days to actually close on it. But you have to identify it in a short period of time. And so it's good to start the looking process while you're getting ready to sell so that you're not stressed out about finding something really quickly. But you have now found a fourplex. And maybe originally 10 years ago when you got this game started, you couldn't afford a fourplex. You could only afford a single family house because fourplexes are more expensive most of the time. And generally, you're going to find a fourplex that's going to be more expensive than a single family house. So now you take all this equity, you roll up to a fourplex because now with the large chunk of equity, you have a large deposit, down payment, that now you can afford a fourplex. And then you do this again. Literally, there are people out there who have built empires by just doing this strategy. Now, it depends how young you are, how much of a head start you have on being able to start implementing this. But let's just say you did this, you bought 2 houses, right? In a 10-year period. You bought 2 houses in a 10-year period. You went out in 2020 and you bought 1 house, and then 2021, you bought a second house. You held both of them for 10 years. 10 years from now, you 1031 both of those into a fourplex. Now you have 8 units, right? Do that again. 10 years from then, you roll up from those 2 fourplexes, maybe to 2 10plexes or 2 15plexes, and now you have an apartment building, right? And it's not something that's going to take a lifetime. Again, if you're younger, you're going to have more time on your side. But, if you did this, let's say 2 or 3 times, most people work more than 30 years before they ever retire. If you can, do this 3 times in a 30-year period, you have the capability of owning a large apartment building. And let's just use, for the sake of simple math, a 20plex. Let's just say you did it to a point where you had a 20plex. Rents, depending on where you are in Salt Lake, are around $1,800 for a nice apartment building. And I've seen even some apartment buildings that are really nice that are renting for $19,000, $2,000 a month. But, you know, let's just, for the sake of easy math, call it $2,000 a month. If you have a 20-plex and 20 units are generating $2,000 a month, you're going to have expenses, of course. You're going to have some vacancies, property management costs, some maintenance and all that stuff. But you're going to gross, you're going to, depending on your vacancy rate, you're going to have the potential to generate approximately $40,000 a month on a 20-plex that rents $2,000 a month, minus all of the debt service, and maybe 30 years from now it's free and clear, so maybe you don't have even debt service. So now all that 40 grand is going to property management, expenses, you got your vacancy rates, taxes, of course, insurance. But minus all of that, you're still left with a very healthy retirement. And so when I say this is literally a strategy that people have implemented to build empires, of course they've gone way bigger than the 20-plex, but there are a lot of people that just get to the 10-plex, 20-plex, call it a day, and now they have a nice, safe, hypothetically safe retirement versus, you know, Social Security, waiting for that money to come in, and they live a more lavish retirement lifestyle. So 10 years is a good number to hypothetically reassess your investment. And maybe it's not the time you want to sell. Maybe you still love it in 10 years. Maybe everything's working great. It's the best area. You love the location. It is what it is. But 10 years tends to be a good time to check to see if it's a good opportunity to roll up. Okay, so we're going to jump again to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to keep talking about this stuff. You know, remodeling, of course, versus remodeling for a fix and flip versus remodeling for a buy and hold. The importance of keeping your costs down for one versus the other. So, on that note, we are going to dive to commercial, and stay tuned. Hi, I'm Yoshi Shiraki, the author of the book, My Body's Just For Me, the book written for children to educate children on the prevention of child abuse. With the assistance of multiple best-selling author Richard Paul Evans, we were able to publish this book as a tool to help break the ice on an easy and innocent way to help children understand and learn how to speak up and communicate. I've been invited numerous times onto Good Things Utah to discuss the importance of good communication with your child in regards to abuse, and also to discuss how my book, My Body's Just For Me, is a great tool for every parent when having that tricky conversation with their children. For more information on the book, My Body's Just For Me, please visit www.protectourangels.com today. And remember, the more we focus on prevention, the less we focus on rehabilitation.